Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Schultz, and I'll be your professor for ED 617 this term and probably next term as you complete your professional inquiry projects, which are usually action research projects, thesis. So I'm looking forward to working with you, and just know that you can communicate with me at any time, and I will offer some clarifying questions. Through a series of modules in the course, we will go step by step through the first 3 chapters of your thesis, which have to do with your introduction and your literature review and your methods and data collection. So we'll start with writing the introduction. The introduction of your thesis is where we get to know who you are, why you are studying this particular project, how it relates to the goals of the MSN program, and how it relates to um, benchmarks and standards put forth by professional organizations. So if you're social studies, if you're doing a social studies project or social studies related project, you would look at the international social studies organizations, national organizations. If you are doing ESOL, you'd look at TESOL standards and Oregon standards for English language learners, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and align your project to that. So you tell us why it's who you are, why it's important, what the who cares about this particular project, um, and why you're doing it, how it relates to those standards, how you're going to do the project, and what we're to expect from it. In the next couple of slides, let me take you through a little bit of this in greater detail. So you'll get started by just talking about what the big ideas are and who cares about it and why it's important to you. Typically, as a professional undergoing a graduate program, you're here because you want to increase your depth of knowledge about a particular subject, but also because you want to take action and work on improving the field of education so you'll have a positive impact on learners and your community. So tell us what the big idea is and why we should care about it. Why is it a problem? What's the challenge that you're seeing in your classroom or in your community or educational setting? Okay. And why is that important for you to try to fix that idea, try to fix that problem? Or I wish I could rewind. Don't say fix the problem. You won't fix the problem, but you'll make a positive contribution to it. Words are important. I got to be careful with mine. All right, so the next thing is let's look at, you're going to narrow your topic. So I usually think about writing the introduction as kind of an upside down funnel. I start with the big issues related to, situating the problem or the issue among other bigger issues. And then you get closer and closer and closer until you're narrowed your topic to your particular setting, your context, the learners that you're working with, the participants that you're working with. Yeah, so you narrow it down that way. You also, in your introduction, are going to try to connect this to other research, other voices that are involved. This typically means that you're going to define key terms. And it's funny about educational research, some words, or research in general, but some words that have common sense meanings may not mean the same to everyone else. In my field of TESOL, teaching English to students of other languages, or bilingual education, if one person says learning and another person says acquisition, that reveals our ideological and theoretical position. Okay? Learning and acquisition, which to someone outside of the field of language acquisition and learning and teaching may seem like the same thing, but they're not. Learning implies a more direct instruction, whereas acquisition, not so much. So what I'm saying, the point of that example is key terms should not be taken for granted. So this is your opportunity to define them. and the same with key concepts. Also tell us who are the key ideas and players, what research has been done so far, who is the most important person and most important folks that have contributed to this concept. What are you finding out? You're not doing a full literature review at that time. What you're doing is you're progressing towards that, okay? So you're just kind of previewing it. The literature review will come in chapter 2. And then anything else that we need to know to understand the topic. You'll also give us a little bit of a preview about how this project is going to unfold, what's going to be the structure. You know, in chapter 1, you're going to do your introduce the problem, but now, as you say, in chapter 2, you will give us a review of the key concepts. Chapter 3 will include the methods of data collection. Chapter 4 will be an analysis, and chapter 5 are your kind of your next steps. Okay, so just tell us a little bit about how you're going to organize it. You may be tempted to start with an abstract, but I would do the abstract after you're finished with the project. Okay, so an abstract is basically like a one-pager. It's usually fewer than 250 words, which you're going to tell what it's about, why it's important, what your theoretical framework is, what's the ideological framework that you're coming with, what are the findings, and why it's important. But that typically comes at the end, so don't be tempted to do that just yet. So next, get writing. You want to aim, as you're fleshing out your introduction, to aim for typically about 8 pages. I know I've said 8 to 12. Some people do it in 4 or 5. I've seen projects that are 4 or 5. It's a little bit low. I think to get all these things done, doesn't need to be wordy, be verbally economical. I provided some action research projects examples on the website, so on the Moodle site rather. So we're using Moodle this term, but we may also use Canvas later on. So it's on the course site, and so you'll have action researchers take a look, action research examples, take a look through them, see what's happening in the introduction. I always like to have a model of that writing. Use academic writing. If you need OWL, Online Writing Lab, it's a great resource. And that's about all I can tell you right now, but I'm looking forward to reading your introductions. Remember, follow that problem, why is it important, who the key players are, define those words, tell us the organizational structure, align it to Ed standards, and you'll be good to go in the first chapter. Okay, thanks so much. Let me know if you have any questions.